Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Hey gang, welcome into another edition of Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with Phil Putney and myself. And this week it's how procrastination dooms, big scary term, our financial future. That's going to be the topic here on the podcast. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Getting ready to enjoy some fall weather here. So.
That's right. Well, you're already starting because it might look a little different to our regular viewers of the show. Phil's got a wider picture going on today because the weather's been kicking up there recently. You lost some power.
Yeah.
I think it fried your camera.
Might have fried the camera. I don't know what's going on. Went to turn it on this morning and it did not come on. So not a good thing.
Yeah.
Every other time it works just great. One of those things, technology, right?
And with our title being Doom, Doom in our fight is like, is that an omen or what? What's going on?
That's right. Hopefully before the next recording, I'll get it fixed.
That's right. We'll get it taken care of. But hey, look, procrastination bites us all, right? So this will be actually kind of funny. You got a week before our next recording. So if you don't get it fixed, we'll have to
get it done. That's right. What happened?
Right? But it's all walks of life, right, Phil? Nothing doesn't make you a good person, bad person. It just is. We're humans. And we all put stuff off, no matter what it is, a project in the yard, the honey-do list, whatever the case might be. But financially, and look, a lot of people do it, but it's not the best move because this is one where time can be so crucial. It's never too late. Yep. We always want to make sure you're doing something, but let's just start it sooner if we can, right?
Yeah. The sooner you start, the more options you have.
You got more move,
and more flexibility, and right.
You can maneuver puzzle pieces a little bit more. So again, we've all done this. Doesn't make you a bad person, but let's just look at a few places where it's dangerous and talk about ways to overcome them if we can. Sure. Let's start with a big one. I think for I'm 50, Phil. I'll be 51 here pretty soon. As a matter of fact, the time we're taping this, I'll be 51 about a week or so later, probably on our next show actually. So. I think about my dad or my parents and I go, okay, so, he retired in the 90s and that's just the 90s. So then you maybe even go another generation before and say people that retired in their 70s or whatever, but it seemed like they didn't really do anything. So I understand this first statement and first sentiment with people where they're like, my parents didn't really do a lot and it worked out fine. So wouldn't it work out fine for me? I get that, but everything. I mean, we've talked many times recently, even the last 10 years, financial planning has changed dramatically. Yeah. And I mean, every generation is a little bit different. And you go back to your point, kind of depends, maybe not the next generation, but the generation before. I mean, back then it was a lot easier. We always talk about the three-legged stool back then, primarily Social Security, probably had a pension. Your own savings was a small piece of it, maybe a third, but it wasn't a big piece of the overall puzzle. The other two were guaranteed. So it was, to this point, pretty easy. It wasn't a lot of planning and thought you had to do. Hey, it's Social Security pension. It's pretty fixed. You've got some options with each, but, other than that, not a lot of, strategizing to do. Yeah.
But to fast forward to where we are today, and it dramatically changes everything. I mean, Social Security, it's still there. There are definitely some options.
And there's some
potentially some concerns. Yeah. Pensions, at least in our neck of the woods, there's still quite a few people that have pensions. But
or if you're federal or state,
Right. But the big three automakers, I mean, they still have pensions, but we're kind of running through that last group of employees that have it. Because even the ones
they phase
that now
out
have it
for future people. Yeah.
They've been frozen, so they probably haven't added anything or changed that pension for the last 10 years. And that's the last wave of people that even have that, so now your portion of the retirement savings is a big piece, it's almost the 2/3.
Yeah. We've got to change that pie a lot more to our side, which where I think we're all aware of, but then at the same time, when procrastination, starts to creep into our brain, it's easy for us to go, well, yeah, but my dad was okay, my mom was okay, so I just won't worry about it. And that's what happens, right? That's where that nugget starts to kind of form and get bigger in our brain, and then it just keeps us from doing anything. So that's the first one. The second one, and a lot of these could easily flow into each other, Phil, with this. And it's easy to talk ourselves out of stuff too, right? As humans, and we just kind of go, well, and we just make all these different kind of justifications. But I don't know who to listen to. Now, we'll be funny here and say we'll be self-serving. You should listen to our podcast. But, there's in today's realm, there is no shortage of who to listen to. However, it does make it even more confusing sometimes when you think, God, there's so much stuff to listen to.
Right. And who do you believe? I mean, there's, go on the internet, there's hundreds of options for any topic. I mean, just type in whatever the topic is you want to see on Google, and you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of options to consider.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of them are going to contradict each other. And, I've always told my clients, I mean, I would hate to be, somebody looking at retirement today, not having a financial background, trying to understand options and, this sounds really good, but, is that really the right option?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that can be a big concern. Who do you listen to? I would say start with somebody that's a fiduciary. I mean, that at least is going to be the first step, right? I mean, it's, again, there's no guarantee that person's still going to do the right thing, but at least they're required to.
They're required to.
Per their licensing, at least they're supposed to be doing that.
They're supposed to be,
like going to your doctor or, an attorney, CPA. I mean, those are all fiduciaries. They're supposed to be acting in your best interest. So at least hopefully you can trust what they're saying, and, they're not trying to sell you something, I guess.
Well, I think with what we do, and we have a conversation, in our podcast in video form or audio form, you probably a couple hundred people every week check it out. So which is, I think, to me, it's like you're not trying to hit 100,000 views or 500,000 views or all this kind of stuff where, you can definitely see these different kinds of channels out there, or these different kinds of things where they're more interested in growing the channel than they are maybe, talking about the fact that, truly working with people. And you think about the big talking heads, and then you break that down to maybe the medium level talking heads. What's their end game, right? What's their goal? Often it's for viewership, right? Whereas you are you're practicing. I'm not saying that some of these people aren't practicing, but you're practicing every day. You're in your office every day. Clearly, you can looking at the video. You're serving your clients, in the Metro Detroit area, but all around the country every single day. So I think that goes a long way for people when they're looking for who to listen to. Get some information from those bigger talking heads that maybe aren't, I mean, Ramsey doesn't practice anymore. Let's be honest. He's got an empire.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the other part of who do you listen to, is it's got to be somebody you connect with, because hopefully this is a person that's not going to, just sell you. It's not like buying a car, right?
Right.
All you have to be worried about is that one transaction. And once you get through it, you're done. Maybe another 4 or 5 years, 10 years, depends on, your plan for cars, but it's going to be a while before you deal with that person again. A financial advisor, if it's the right one, hopefully you're dealing with them on a regular basis. I mean, it's somebody that's helping you walk through this plan in the beginning, but then managing and implementing it along the way throughout retirement.
All right. Number 3 on the procrastination train here, dealing with the financial stuff just stresses a lot of people out. It just makes me nervous or whatever. And so they just avoid it.
Yeah. The challenge there is that it's something that doesn't age well, right? It's not like a fine wine. The longer you let it age, the better maybe it is. I mean, the longer you let this problem age and you avoid it and put it off, you start to lose options.
It's more like a bad tooth.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Good way to put it. I mean, it's not going to get better by itself over time.
No,
the stress isn't going to get less. It's going to actually probably get worse, because now you're going to get forced into making a decision that you haven't really thought through and, really had the time to work through some of the details. So,
well, back
you
to
don't
that,
you don't want to avoid it.
It's never too late, or at least never say never.
Right.
But, the sooner you have to manipulate, the more time you have to work with, the more time you have to kind of fix things. Where if you do wait too long, yeah, your expiration date gets a little closer, if you will, and therefore your options could get limited, or you rush the judgment.
Right.
And we've all had that kind of iffy jar or iffy gallon of milk, same kind of idea where you're like,
That's right.
should I take a drink from this or should I not? Right. So let's not wait too long on that. So I like that idea. What about the I'm too busy? I think in our world now, hey, that's a fair one. We're just
Absolutely.
inundated with stuff all the time, super busy. But at the same time, technology does maybe help with some of those barriers.
Mhm.
One silver lining to COVID, Phil, was it got forced people to realize they may have to talk to others on subjects like finance via
Yeah.
Zoom, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it comes down to priorities. I mean, yeah, you're too busy. I get it. We're all busy. Life happens. The weekend's gone before you know it, type of thing. And
Sure.
same thing here. I mean, it's similar to the procrastination, or the stressing you out. I mean, it's not going to get better with time.
Right.
You have to make time. I
Yeah.
mean, at some point you're going to be forced into making time, and I guarantee you at that stage you're going to look back thinking, I wish I would have done it maybe sooner.
Yeah.
So make time. I mean, if it's a true priority of yours, if you have a goal of, 5 years from today, I want to retire, 10 years, whatever it is, you need to start the process of looking at it at least. Have some goals in mind, and start to look at, what do I need to do between now and then to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And take it in small steps. I mean, you don't have to make one big decision at once, but at least start to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the I'm too busy, I can't carve the time right now is going to catch us all, because how many of us
Right.
out there listening or watching, be honest with me, how many of you, woke up one day, you looked in the mirror, or a birthday rolled up? Like I said, I'll be having one here pretty soon. And you go, when did this happen? Like, when did I
Oh, yeah,
woke
I
up
know.
and I'm 51. Well, I'm going to
Yep.
turn around and wake up in a couple of days, it seems like, and I'm going to be 55. And then, so
Yep.
it's, before you know it, it's here,
Yeah, and we find things to fill our schedule with. I mean, it brings me back to when our kids were in high school, and one was in soccer, another was a cheerleader, and thinking, okay, well, once they're in college and beyond, we're gonna have all this time, and all of a sudden that happened. It's like, okay, what happened? And we're still busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we always find things to fill up our schedule.
Yeah, that's a great
So
point. The procrastination train does that too. Well, I'll start
Yep.
saving for retirement.
At this,
Once we buy our first house.
Yep.
Well, we bought the house, but we're getting ready to have a kid, so I'll start saving for retirement after the
Yes.
kid's born. Well, now I got to save for their college, so I'll start saving for retirement after we start. You know what I mean? It's like we can easily find a way to kick that can. So,
Right.
procrastination, man, it's a bad human character trait.
It
It's
is. It
it's a
is.
troublesome
Unfortunately,
one.
most of us have it. It's
We
just
all have it. Yeah, we all have
what
it.
we live with.
I don't know where to start, Phil. That's another one.
Sure.
Again, technology today, and this wonderful thing, this wonderful and also loathsome thing. I think it's a double-edged sword that is a cell
Yes.
phone. Right. I think it's a big problem in our society. I think, but it's also at the same time, it can be an amazing tool. And it
Mhm.
takes that barrier down if I don't know where to start. But to our point a minute ago, you're also inundated with so much information that you get more confused maybe than ever before because you have so many options.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I don't know where to start. I would say start by talking to an advisor, or multiple
It's usually
advisors.
complimentary. So why not?
Right,
That's why you guys
absolutely.
do it. Yeah.
Start to talk to a couple of different advisors to see that fit. Who do you listen to? Make sure it's somebody you're comfortable with. You like what they're saying. I mean, it kind of resonates with you and
Right.
sounds right. And you'll know as you get into that relationship a little bit. First couple of meetings, you'll get to have enough of an understanding to generally make a good
Mhm.
decision. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the right place to start, because if you pick the right one, you don't have to know all the minutiae and details and questions to ask and everything else down the road. I mean, I tell clients all the time, you retire once in your lifetime, typically. Now, I have had clients retire a couple of times where they retire, go
Okay.
back to work, retire,
Nothing wrong with that.
but I mean, that's usually by choice.
Right.
They find, they get another offer, something they've always wanted to do, whatever it is. But clients typically, you retire once. I help clients retire every day. That's what we do.
Mhm.
So I know all the questions. I know all the obstacles. I know all the different scenarios that have to be looked at.
Right.
And that's my job as an advisor, is to get to understand you and your scenario, what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, your income, your assets, etc. And then with my knowledge and background, help to understand your situation and introduce, well, here's some things we have to consider, which might not be things that you would even think of.
Yeah. And I think for the where to start, that's a great point, and so many, which is one of the reasons why there are so many podcasts in this industry specifically, or, books and shows and things of that nature, because not only are they trying to, generate business, they're trying to generate leads, because you got to, have clients to keep the doors open, but also for this at the same time, it's a great way to share a little bit about who you are. So when you're looking for a way to start watching a show like ours or listening to a show like ours, you start to hear some things and you go, hey, this guy makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like someone I can have a rapport with. And then that's why it kind of follows up with that complimentary review, whether it's virtually or in the office or whatever, because it's just another way to kind of see, is this the right fit? And Phil, it's not just a one-way street where you're looking for the client. You've got to also be able to right fit for, it's got to be both ways,
Absolutely. I mean, as I'm interviewing prospective new clients, I mean, I'm doing as well, understanding your scenario. Do I think I can help, or but then do we have a good relationship? Is it somebody that I think we can work together?
Yeah.
And as much as they're interviewing me, I'm interviewing them, so to speak, to see, is this going to be a good fit along the way? Because my goal isn't, come in, sell you something and then gone. It's let's build a plan. Right. And I'm helping manage and implement that plan throughout retirement is my goal.
Yeah.
So as we build it, I want to make sure it works and tweak it along the way if we need to. So.
And that's where the right professional for your needs comes into play, because there, like any industry, there are those professionals out there who only have a limited toolbox, and they are just trying to turn things over.
Right.
You just sell this, sell this, sell that, and just kind of keep the chain moving.
Keep it going. Keep that machine running. So
where I think versus a true financial planner and a financial advisor is looking to build a relationship with their client. And I know many advisors, I talk to them all the time, like I said, who get to a certain number. They only want their practice to get so big because they don't want to be a giant firm. They want to still have that rapport and that personal, kind of touch, if you will. They don't want to necessarily have 10 different advisors on their staff, so everybody's, maybe that's what you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for a big firm. Maybe you're looking for a boutique firm, right? All those things go into it.
And that comes back to understanding who do you listen to and do some interviews, right?
Yep.
You won't know until you start.
And soul searching.
And soul searching, right. Yeah. Well, and if you're married, I mean, a big point there, talk to your spouse. I mean, this isn't just you. You guys need to have some discussions ahead of time.
Yeah.
And that's part of my job. And it's interesting to me. I always joke and say, okay, I'm going to have to put my counselor hat on now, because as we're talking, financial topics, a lot of times spouses will have different opinions, which is fine. I mean, we're individuals, Yeah. So let's work that out and come to an agreement of how we're going to handle it. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. We just had a mobile vet come out to our house to check on one of our animals. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. My wife was like, oh, she's great. My wife was super excited. She was very happy with the process. And I wasn't feeling it. I was like, I don't know. She rubbed me the wrong way. And that goes a long way, so sometimes that gut instinct goes a long way, but it has to be mutual. But then as my wife talked a little bit and made a few points, I was like, okay, maybe I was looking at it a little bit more through the worry that I had over the animal versus maybe the person's actual skill set. Same thing I could see happening in a financial world where maybe the couple comes in and one's very excited to get things done. They're very open to learning. And the other one's a little bit more closed off because they have this one fear that's really nagging them. And if you didn't touch on that fear the exact way, they may not resonate with you, right? Versus really thinking it through. So it's a touchy subject. It's an emotional subject.
Oh yeah. Finances are very emotional, and that's why I think a lot of times they get procrastinated. It's like, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to deal with it.
I don't want to go there,
Yeah.
Something
the underlying,
let's, what's that series we've been watching? Let's catch up on that. Or let's, I got to do some yard work.
Yeah. Great point. Because the underlying fear is that it's just not going to go the way you want. So let's just not deal with it.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because oftentimes that's the case. It's like the fear of what it is bigger than the problem.
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I don't want to go. It's, it's going to be terrible. And you
Yeah.
put it off. And then you meet with the advisor and it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, well, so
I'm in
again, it's
better
like the
shape than what
dentist.
I thought I was,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I do it all the time, and I know advisors don't like it. They're like, don't associate me with the dentist, man. It's the worst. But it's a great analogy because you go in, you got a little bit of tooth pain, you go in, and you're convinced that they're going to tell you that like one whole side of your teeth are just, destroyed. And you're going to have major stuff, and it might be like you got one little cavity, and you just got to fix it. So you never know, right? For the perfectionists out there, they procrastinate. They use procrastination as a way to avoid the perfectionism issue.
Right.
That maybe they can't relinquish control. Maybe that's one side, right?
Yep.
I can't give over control because then I feel like insecure or whatever. Or that, it's never gonna, it's not like a set in stone kind of thing. So how do I know it's actually perfect for me? And that's a tough one because there really truly is no perfect financial plan because you're not perfect. Your life isn't perfect and life is never going to be perfect. So how can you expect your financial plan to be?
And that comes up often when we're doing financial plans is it's not set in stone, right? I mean, a financial plan is the roadmap to see number one, does it work? Can you retire when you want, with the income you want, or if not, what changes do we have to make to get there? But then it's got to be managed along the way because this is a long-term, 20, 30 or more years, so there's just things we don't even know. And laws are going to change. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen maybe in your life throughout that time. So we're making a lot of assumptions into that, and you have to, and sometimes that's some of the procrastination from a perfectionist is like, why would you do that? It's all assumptions anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in fact, it's funny because as a CPA, my initial, before I got into financial advising full time, that was my initial kind of take on financial planning. It's like, you're just throwing a bunch of numbers out there. It's not going to happen. All we can deal with and control is what we know in the next couple of years. But as you get into it, you realize, well, yeah, that's true, but you still need to look down the road and you still need to make some assumptions and run the numbers and start walking down that direction.
It's like guardrails on a road. If you're doing a mountain, if you're taking a mountain drive and you're getting up in elevation, there's guardrails for a reason, right?
Right.
So to keep you kind of in a framework of where you need to be, any kind of way you want to look at it, you need some guardrails, some guidelines, and then you've got a little maneuverability in there. But otherwise you're just off the road.
Yeah, I mean, I always liken doing the financial plan to setting up planning out a trip. Let's say you're going to travel around the United States for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. You probably aren't just going to jump in the car and start driving because you got to make reservations. Where are you going? All these different things.
If you're 23, you might do it. If you're
23, you might just go, exactly. That's a whole nother scenario.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, most people would plan it out because you're going to have to make reservations. And if you're going to, you're going to see the national parks, you're probably going to have to get passes and do all these things along the way. And how much is it going to cost, right? I mean, that's the other thing. Can I afford it? How far can I go? But once you plan it all out, I can guarantee you as you start that it's not going to be the trip exactly like you planned it. Things are going to happen. You're going to have a flat tire or whatever it is. There's going to be things you didn't think that you didn't even know they were there. And, all of a sudden you want to see that. So now you got to change some things along the way, but that's just part of it.
That's right. It's really true. Like great analogy for, life in general when you think about finances, because at 23, we're willing to jump in the car and just ride willy-nilly. And we're willing to either avoid or just do more reckless things with our money at 23. But when we decide to take a road trip at 53, or 63, we're putting some planning into it because our old bones don't want to just sleep in the car or don't want to just whatever, right? So
we can't drive 18 hours anymore.
No, that's a great way.
The rest areas along the way, it's a totally different scenario now.
And you can't eat the complete junk along the way because your stomach's killing you, right? So
all the gas station food.
That's right. So that's a great way of thinking about it and looking at it. So procrastination, we all know, we all have it. It's something that we all deal with. Those who can control it and master it better probably do, are a leg up on people in lots of different walks of life because they're able to kind of, beat their own personal demon, if you will. So do yourself and your retirement a favor. Don't procrastinate. Reach out to Phil or reach out to someone, reach out to a couple of someones and find the right fit for you to make sure you're doing the right things to get to and through retirement. So reach out to Phil if you'd like, 248-888-7530. It's up on the screen for those viewing, 248-888-7530. He is a CPA, as he mentioned, and a personal financial specialist at AFS Wealth Management. Make sure you check him out online at philstaxhacks.com. That's the podcasting website, but it takes care of everything there and sends you back around. So philstaxhacks.com. You can check him out on Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff. So again, philstaxhacks.com. Buddy, thanks for hanging out with me this week. We'll talk to you next time right here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts.
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.